Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning blog. My name is Melissa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about a proposal from the Professional Ethics Executive Committee. If you've been in one of my classes lately, very often one of the most common things I get asked is, how did they come up with these ideas anyway? How do they pick these topics, especially in ethics, as we've talked about hosting and state and local government affiliates? This is another one that, people start to ask, how do these ethical issues arrive? Well, the Professional Ethics Executive Committee has done a little bit of research on some potential topics it might like to cover, and it's running them by you. So it's an opportunity for you to give feedback on whether or not you think this is something that you would like them to work on, or if you think it's something that's not necessary, or if you have another idea for something that would be great for them to work on. So this is their strategy and work plan. So this was issued in November, this month of 2019. Comments are due February 28th of 2020. So again, they're looking for standard setting issues, enforcement issues, or what they call member enrichment programs. So sometimes they're trying to create brand new standards. Sometimes they're trying to deal with issues that are coming up during peer review, et cetera. And sometimes they're looking just to provide some additional feedback. Maybe it's not a new project, but maybe it's going to be FAQs, or maybe it's going to be additional resources as part of that topic. So they're looking for feedback on their plan. So what did they look at when coming up with this list? They looked at prevalent issues in the profession. They looked at benefit to the public interest. Remember, CPA, public accountant. Technology, right? We know that there's a growing use of technology. So we're going to see things like AI now being thought about in the ethics realm. Changes in auditing and accounting standards, education and tools to assist members, and then degree of urgency. Those are all things that they're considering when they determine what they're going to work on next. So what are some of the things they're thinking of working on? Well, the first one is what they call their business relationship. So business relationships have changed since cooperative agreements came out. So really, if you look at the changes in like alliances or subcontracting, we see a lot more of that than we did when they first wrote this. And so as a result, finance and accounting outsourcing, other business relationships with their non-attest clients, they want to determine whether they need to update the types of business relationships where there could be an impact to independence. All right, so those are the first ones that they have sort of thrown out there as a potential standard setting item. Another one is the definition of an office. Now, I'm coming to you right now from my home office. I don't have a real office. This is my real office. It is set up as a recording studio. I have two big lights in front of me. I have lights that are currently not on to the side of me. I use those for a green screen. I have a drop back here. I have a special setup with a microphone and a special camera just for recording these webinars and for our blogs. And so this is my office. And so I don't think when they wrote the standard for offices and they wrote about how partners in a particular office have to handle things, right? Then, what office are you working out of? You work from home, and we know partners who don't have a local office. I actually know someone from a Big Four, if their office closed, but they still work for the company. They just work for them out of their home, right? So that has created some issues with the term office and how to remain independent in those areas. I know you're not going to be excited to hear this one. I do think, however, it's somewhat of an important topic, which is the definition of client affiliate. As we've been working on the hosting standards, some of the most common questions I get are related to the definition of client affiliate. And so when we look at the definition, it extends to common ownership by entities and not common ownership by individuals. And so obviously people have been asking questions about, well, what if it's a relationship with these entities and it's the person, and those are what they're trying to do in order to talk about, well, what kind of issues might we have if it is ownership by individuals. Artificial intelligence, or AI. I know this is something that people are either tired of hearing or super excited to talk about. You're either in one camp or the other, but they're considering forming a task force to include subject matter experts to understand ethics issues that would be unique when you're using artificial intelligence. So obviously, when you think about this, artificial intelligence includes technologies that enables computers to perform decision-based tasks previously performed by humans. Obviously, major opportunity for those of us in public accounting. However, the reliance on the technology could create some ethical issues. And so now they're considering whether they need to address that. Simultaneous employment or association with a client. This one's, I think, kind of cool. It actually addresses an issue that I had never thought of. And the concept of simultaneous employment, they have exceptions right now for things like adjunct faculty, right? So you can audit the school and be an adjunct faculty if you're not tenure track and you're not in the benefit program, et cetera, et cetera. They're also looking at, are there any other relationships that could potentially benefit? And the example that they actually use is a CPA who is in the Army. So maybe they're in the reserves or something like that. They would have an issue if their company or their firm was engaged to do any attest work on behalf of the U.S. Army. And clearly, that person is doing a service to this country, and we should probably give them the benefit of the doubt. So that's one of the ones. Now, again, that you might disagree, and I'd be totally okay with that. But I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for those people. Digital assets. Again, this is another one where you're getting into some of the more technology oriented. There's no particular information right now about digital assets or cryptocurrencies in terms of the ethics rules. And so they're looking at forming a task force again to get subject matter experts in this area to consider what independence or ethics issues could exist with those. When they updated the code, that wasn't as popular, but we're starting to see more and more. 529 plans. I didn't even think about this, but for people who have young children, I have a young child and she does have a 529 plan, and I agree with this overall. They, in 2005, developed guidance for 529 plans. However, at that time, there was a belief that you would know what you're investing in, and then you could ensure that you're maintaining your independence. What we're finding is that you really don't know what you're investing in. You can be investing in things that are constantly moving around, and they are thinking that potentially the code might need to be updated in this area to help people who are currently supporting, especially state and local governments. There's such a shortage of accountants in this area. I think this is an interesting standard setting option. Reporting of an independence breach to an affiliate that is also an attest client. So this one's an interesting one as well. We already have guidance on when there's a breach of independence, what we have to do, but now they're looking at when you are communicating it to the charge of governance, do we need something similar for the related affiliate entities? So sister or downstream affiliate entities that are also attest clients, do we need to report that breach related to the first entity? So we'll see if they pick that up. De minimis fees. Materiality is used in some of the language here, but it actually doesn't have strong underlying. So the concept of materiality is used in financial interest, but the unpaid fees does not refer to materiality. So if it was $10, is that still an issue, right? So they've discussed whether the existence of unpaid fees from a client that was de minimis, would that actually still impair your independence, and whether they should update to specifically address the concept of de minimis, or is it just any unpaid fee? Data security and breaches. We know that this is a hot area. We have access to a lot of information about our client that's not public information. So how do you balance confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data if there is a breach? And so they're going to provide potentially enrichment materials. So again, not all of this is necessarily quote unquote standard setting. It might be member enrichment projects as well. Conflicts of interest, there's more inquiries in this area, so they're thinking that more materials would be helpful in this area as well. And then operational enhancements to the actual code. So when they rolled out the new code, I think it was back in 2014, one of the things that they did was they made it bookmarkable. They made it searchable. They made it all online, right? They did a lot of updates to make the code more user-friendly. They are looking for, again, some major enhancements to how you maintain the code. So they're looking at things like the online professional library and FAQs, right? How do FAQs interplay? Do you have access to them? And so they're looking at how can they improve the overall operations of the actual code. So other things to think about. So these are potential future topics. What are they already working on? Well, they're working on an AICPA comparison. So the International Ethics Group, they always look to see what they're looking at so that they can see if they need to pick something up off of that group. GAO independence. Right now, they're looking at the 2018 Yellow Book to see whether or not we need to pull anything in from there. So, if someone else has a great idea, in the accounting world, especially in ethics, we're okay with borrowing that. So they're looking at those comparisons right now. Data analytics to identify member enrichment opportunities, assisting clients with implementing accounting standards, RevRec, leases, right? These are already task force projects that the PEEC is working on in order to make sure that we are, addressing those issues, which are big issues right now. Enhanced visibility of non-authoritative guidance. So if you're looking in there, sometimes there's just a link at the bottom. You don't even know necessarily that it exists. Collaboration with peer review for effective and efficient member firm remediation. So that's another area that they're working on. And then the effects of automatic sanction or effects on automatic sanctioning with changes in the Office of Professional Responsibility Enforcement, or OPR. And then reviewing the automatic sanctioning guidelines for consistency. So those are the current projects they have out there. They've issued already a whole bunch of stuff this year. So these are the projects they're currently thinking about. They also have restricted use reports and independence provisions. So this is the first one was the Professional Ethics Division, not necessarily PEEC itself, the committee. That was the division. Now PEEC, the committee, is looking at restricted use reports and independence provisions with a financial audit current centric perspective, right? So restricted use reports and how those independents work. Records requests. Information technology and cloud services. So FASB and GASB have both addressed, or in the process of addressing in the case of GASB, cloud technology. So not surprising to see it picked up by ethics. Independence in state and local government environment. We already have state and local client affiliates, so they're looking really in this area. Responding to NOCLAR, non-compliance with laws and regulations. That's an area that they've been working on for a while, and it's kind of contentious, so I'm interested to see where that one goes. Inducements. Compilation of pro forma and prospective financial information, and selected procedures engagement task force. So selected procedures was rolling out of that ATTEST, the combined ARSC and ASB project there. And then staff augmentation. So those are some of the projects they also already have PEEC working on itself. So you're probably thinking, is there anything they're not touching? And the answer is yes. They elected not to pursue right now comparisons to other standard setters besides AICPA and GAO. Ethical guidance related to approval for sending client work outside the United States. We see more and more, in particular tax work, but now also audit work being offshored. They had thought about that. They elected not to. Removal of the government auditor without approval, contingent fees, gifts and entertainment, use of a third-party provider for internal purposes or admin purposes, peer review for tax practices, that would be very interesting, scared straight litigation, client access to information in the cloud, and confidentiality from the government. So all those were potential projects that after they started going through this strategy session, decided not to go through. So that is the current proposal. If you have something that they missed that you think they need to address, I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. And if you think there's something on this list that they're planning addressing that doesn't need to be addressed, or they're addressing it in a way that you don't think addresses the issue, I am sure they would love to hear from you. So today's blog is a little bit longer, but that is because next week is Thanksgiving. So I'm going to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. We're going to take a week off from the Genuine Learning blog so I can spend some time with my family. And we will pick up in December with another blog. So thank you guys so much. It's been an amazing year. 2019 is coming to an amazing close. And I'm so grateful for all of my clients and all of the amazing CPAs in this profession. So I want to send my heartfelt thank you and gratitude out there to the world to hear my gratefulness. And I do wish you guys a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I hope to see you guys on the Genuine Learning blog or in a classroom real soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.